And here we go. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. I got my take shirt on. This is The Take. I'm Pete Najarian for Market Rebellion. I got to tell you something. We knew Monday was a crazy day. We had Tuesday, which was Turnaround Tuesday, which turned into an absolute unbelievable run to the upside, especially when you look over at the Dow. The Dow actually, early on, it recovered. About a 500 points later, the next thing you know, it actually closed the day up almost 200 points. It was up over 200 points. Closed the day up 180 points. You look over at the NASDAQ, kind of the same story, recapturing 15,000. I don't know whether or not that's a big thing or not. I'm not the chart guy, but I will tell you that people do look at those big numbers very frequently as sort of a measuring tool at times. So we recaptured 15,000. We got 300 points off the lows to actually finish up 210 points on the NASDAQ. So an incredible day, a nice, big, huge turnaround Tuesday where we were just ripping to the upside. You take a look over at crude oil. Now, you've heard me time and time again. This has been over a year where I've been talking about, hey, look, it's not that it's just my own opinion. It's what I see in terms of the flows that have been coming into the energy space, and specifically the price of crude. Now, in November 2020, we were looking at crude that was obviously at levels that were incredibly low. It ripped around. We got into 2021. We continued. We moved off that 38. We got up towards the 80s. We pulled back just a little bit. But along that entire road, we have seen option paper that's been in that energy space that just continues to dominate on a daily basis. And we are continuing to see that even now, January 2022. So we see a lot of that. You look over at the 10-year, trading about 175, got up towards that 1.8 level, got a little bit of a pullback off of that. We did have some volumes yesterday that were a little bit lower, 35.5 million contracts trading, a little disappointing after the 41 million contract average we've had. All that being said, that wasn't really the story as much as the monster trades within that 35.5 million. I'll give you a few examples. Tesla, AMD, Affirm, QuantumScape, I'm looking Lucid, NVIDIA, Robinhood, Take-Two. We were seeing massive trades go into a lot of these various names, most of them working very, very rapidly already to the upside. Some of them not as much. Tesla, not as much, but we talked about that one yesterday for unusual on the halftime. But we didn't get the opportunity for whatever reason, and we worked up time and everything else, but we weren't able to get to some of these areas because we had talked about that in the little pre-show deal and about some of the names that we were seeing. It was extraordinary, quite honestly. That AMD option paper, it hit and already took off. I mean, it just ripped to the upside. Oh, by the way, we might be seeing a little bit more of that today. We'll get into that in just a second. So energy started off the day a little bit slower. It's up about 0.25%. Started to really rally with the price of crude to the upside. Next thing you know, that was the leader by a long shot, up almost 3.5% yesterday for energy. These sectors that were really pulling on the markets to the upside off of the lows. It's not that energy started strong. It started relatively weak and then took off to the upside. Technology also took off very nicely, up about 1.2% yesterday, followed by semiconductors, which is not a sector, but a subsector. That was up about 2%. That was very strong as well. So some of the names that really did stick out yesterday as the movers to the upside, I would say Illumina, definitely one of those names. That was up about 17% yesterday. That's a monstrous move. Those beta energy names, of course, were reacting as crude was moving to the upside. Those beta names like APA, Occidental, Halliburton, you know the whole crew. Then you throw in Marathon Oil, all of those up 5%, 5.5% or more yesterday to the upside. That's that kicker that you get out of those beta names that are a 1, a 2, actually not a 1, a 2, a 3 beta to the prices. That's exactly what we were seeing yesterday. That absolute explosive move to the upside. PayPal had a really nice day yesterday as well as some of the Chinese names. You look over at JD and PDD and some of those names up about 5% yesterday. Boeing kicked in a little bit yesterday with some of those delivery numbers as well. What wasn't working yesterday, actually a lot was working yesterday, or at least turned into something that was working yesterday. But what didn't really work all that well, mRNA, that was one of those names that we've been talking about every day. It's been up a little or down a little bit. Yesterday, down about 5%. Starbucks down a couple of percent, and then slip in IBM. IBM was really the big contributor yesterday early on to why we were seeing the Dow down quite as much as it was. And that actually had a recovery off those levels. So we had that turnaround Tuesday. We get into today. We start off pretty nice and we continue to be pretty nice. Now, I don't know where we are right now because things do change just amazingly fast right now in these markets. We started in the pre-market up about 100 points on the NASDAQ and the Dow, up about 15, 20 points on the S&P. As we've gotten into the first hour of trade, we were up as much as 150 points on the Dow, on the NASDAQ. We were up about 30 points on the S&P. So incredible move to the upside. We're looking at a VIX that we're talking about Monday, we were trading nearly 23 and a half. Now you're looking at a VIX that's under 18. That's a dramatic move, folks. If you watch this and have been around the markets, you understand what I'm saying. That is an incredible move that we've seen both to the upside and then, of course, this downside move just a couple of days to get to these levels. Absolutely amazing. We actually hit 82 early this morning on crude. Crude pulled back a little bit from there. Not sure where it is right this second. Looking at the 10-year, kind of hovering around, but right around that 172 area. Now, what's leading today? Well, we got technology. Started off about 1%, got a little bit better than that. That's that little push to the upside that we were seeing. Semiconductors as well, up about a 1.25% or so. Got a little bit more than that, but kind of steadily holding at least onto that area, maybe a little bit better than that. Materials jumped a little bit early. Industrials also. Consumer discretion showed up. Now, early, it wasn't really doing much of anything. Next thing you know, just consumer discretion actually had a nice burst up about 1%. So that gives you a little bit of a backdrop. I mentioned materials. How about this move today in Freeport Mac? That's been one of my favorites. As you all know, that's one of my top three going into this year for the halftime report, guys. FCX up nearly 5%, 4.5%, 5% today. Also Mosaic in that world as well, up about 2.5% or so. We got some of those crazy names as well, the Octas that are actually moving to the upside, about a 5% move. Chinese names again today, back to back to back. We are seeing some of these Chinese names move to the upside. PDD, NetEase, Baidu, the usual suspects. Lucid was one of those names that yesterday, it was one of the highest volume options yesterday trading. And on top of that, we had that monstrous buying in Lucid. That's already performed. Those options from yesterday have already doubled this morning. So obviously we talk about discipline all the time. Everybody's got their own idea of what the discipline is. You've got to have discipline. That's what we talk about all the time. You get moves. What are you looking for? When are you going to do it? And then you don't need to change. You need to stick with the discipline because that's what keeps you around. We talk about that all the time. That's a big part of trading. So also Salesforce, nice little bump to the upside, give it a little bump to the Dow as well. What's not going very high today, as a matter of fact, getting pulled down pretty significantly. How about Biogen? Now, we talked about this last night on the 5 o'clock show. We had Sarah Eisen stepping in. Amazing job because the lady had just finished her previous show, had to jump on with our show. She hosted and it seemed so seamless. It was unbelievable. Great job, Sarah. That was awesome. But Biogen down about 8% today. I see diagnostic companies, DGX also down about 5%. That's Quest. Lilly down about 3%. You see a little bit of a rhythm here. You're seeing a little bit of what's going on in the healthcare space. J&J also one of those names to the downside. Oh, by the way, Peloton again down about 2% today. So that gives you a little bit of an insight into that. Now, got two unusuals. We'll get out of your hair, and we'll be ready to rock and roll for the day. So, Ford. Now, Ford has already hit twice today. Yes, twice today in the first hour, but I'm hitting the very first one that hit with us. Stock was trading right around 24.80. We had a buyer of 11,000, a little more than 11,000 of the February 4th expiring. So it gives you a little bit of time, the 27.5 calls. Now they bought 11,000 of those for about approximately, call it 40 cents. That was interesting. We also had buyers going out to March, but the very first trade was the one that stood out because it was right out of the gate. It was the very first trade of the day. And Ford, as we all know, has been absolutely ripping to the upside near multi-year highs once again. So AMD is the other one. I mentioned AMD yesterday. Huge buying at the 135 strike. Absolutely massive buying. Today, buying again. 10,000 of this week, Friday, expiring. So very short term, just like the other one was yesterday in AMD. Stock now trading right about the 140 mark, and the 142 calls are what they are buying today. 10,000 of those started at 90 cents, went up to about $1.90 for those calls. Just remember, it's Wednesday. These expire on Friday. This has to happen. Can it? Absolutely. Take a look at what just happened yesterday. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but we are seeing some option flows in there. And of course, we're always seeing option flows in the energy space as well. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to a monstrous day. If you get a chance, myself and Ryan Mastro tonight, we will be doing right at the close. We're going to be talking about momentum and some of the trades, probably talk about a lot of the trades that I've mentioned here today and from yesterday, but with a lot to cover. You're really exciting. It's right at the market close. If you want to, just take a look and try to get onto that. That should be a lot of fun. Ryan's an amazing guy. He can cover stocks so fast. He's a great guy with the charts. Everything you're going to want. I think it should be pretty exciting. Look forward to that. Have a great day of trading.